We're at Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar for the semi-final of the Connacht Intermediate Club Football Championship. It's another day of reckoning for the footballers of Crossmolina and St Michael's as the Mayo champions and the Galway winners meet to decide who progresses to next weekend's provincial decider. Lovely day for a match here in Castlebar. Let's take a check on the teams before we go any further, and we'll begin with St Michael's, the recently crowned Galway Intermediate champions, and it's been quite a busy week for their manager Mike Hughes, who's forced to make 4 changes to the team listed in the match programme. It's been a very busy schedule of matches for St Michael's. This their 4th successive weekend to be in action, and it started to take its toll. They'll go into a battle this afternoon, at least from the start, without Conal Gallagher and David Cunyan, their midfield partnership. They've been replaced by 18 Jack Brown and number 31 David Hurley, while in the half-forward line, Ethan Fiorentini and Frank Daly drop out. In come Gavin Somerville wearing 25 and Ronan McGillaree wearing 26. Ronan, the man who scored the winning goal in last weekend's Galway County final replay. Turning now to Crossmolina, and they've also had to make a couple of changes to the team that was listed in the match programme, but in fact there's just the one from the side that started their county final replay win here 2 weeks ago over Moy Davits, and that sees number 19 Killian Fergus come in place of number 8 Dara Siren, while in defence Diarmuid Fox wearing 22 starts again in the full back line with Fergal Duffy the player to drop to the bench. Crossmolina unchanged apart from that. The players to keep an eye out for: number 6 Conor Loftus, 9 Jordan Flynn, both members of the Mayo senior squad, and up front James Mahady, number 15, did the majority of the scoring damage in both county finals against Moy Davits. So that's the scene set then, as it was for this eagerly anticipated AIB Connacht Intermediate Football semi-final. Our match referee Ian Monaghan from the St Bridget's Club in Roscommon, his linesmen Dermot Lyons from Castlerea and Mark Grehan from Bridget's. Delighted to have Colm Boyle, former Mayo footballer, alongside me. Colm, you've seen a lot of Crossmolina. I know you've watched tape of St Michael's in the last week or so as well. Crossmolina favourites, but you don't feel it's necessarily that clear cut.
No, and look, at any day the champions of Mayo and the champions of Galway meet, there's going to be very little between the teams. I think the one thing that might come against St Michael's here is obviously that short turnaround. Crossmolina do have a two week break since they won the Mayo Intermediate title. St Michael's, unfortunately, with the replay coming in, only got that week.
So before the start then, we will pause for a moment's silence here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park. A moment's silence there in memory of the late Tom Curran, one of the most well-known St Michael's supporters who passed away during the week. May he rest in peace. We pause now for Oran Navian. So we're almost ready to go there here in Castlebar. Big crowd in from Crossmolina. I know there's a supporters bus that has travelled down as well from Galway City. St Michael's, based on the west side of the city, relegated from senior championship football at the end of the 2023 season, but they've bounced right back up again. But a big blow for them coming into the game. In case you missed it, they will start without Conal Gallagher, David Kenyan, Ethan Fiorentini and Frank Daly, all ruled out of action at least from the start, while Crossmolina, they're without their midfielder Dara Siren. So almost set to go. The Deal Rovers, the hot favourites. St Michael's back in the Connacht Intermediate Championship for just the second time, and the first for 16 years. It's the very first time for Crossmolina to play in this competition, but of course they were All-Ireland Senior Club Champions in 2001. Our referee Ian Monaghan gets the action underway in this first half. It will be Crossmolina to play from right to left, down towards the old Bacon Factory goal. There's hardly a puff of breeze as James Mahady gets the first shot in on goal. It's away to the right and wide, looking to pick up where he left off here against Moy Davitz a couple of weeks ago. They really did find him very, very hard to handle as Crossmolina press right up on Michaels for the first kick out and force Stephen Daly to go short. Just in terms of tactically, Colm, how you expect St Michael's to go about their business and Crossmolina likewise. What can we expect maybe from the first 15 or 20 minutes?
Well, I think we saw Crossmolina a lot in the Mayo Club Championship. They're very direct, Mike, and we saw it straight away there from the throw. And Conor Loftus gets on the ball. He's only one thing in his mind, getting into his inside forward line, and James Marty, who scored 8 points in the two county finals here in Mayo. So I think we're going to see a lot of direct play from Crossmolina. From St Michael's, I think they'll be very similar. They're a very high scoring team right through the Galway Championship. So I think they'll look to counteract that. So I think that's why I'm really excited about this game. I think it could be an absolute cracker because conditions are perfect for good football. They're as good as they could wish for in November. Pitch looks really good, so I think we're all set for a really good game.
Well, we are watching two teams, of course, who are well battle hardened and road tested. Both had to win replays to win their county titles. This is a long period of possession for St Michael's, and just as I say it, the hand pass from David Hurley didn't stick. It was loose. Crossmolina get a hand in and they've turned it over. Niall Coggins, though, robbed of possession as he tried to come out with that ball. He has support, and it's a very tough tackle and a hard hit from Damien Connaughton to put the pressure on. Crossmolina get the free and a chance for Conor Loftus to get his first meaningful touch of this game. And as Crossmolina try to work their way out of defence nice and slowly, they are managed by Brian Benson, won a couple of county senior championship medals during his playing career. Among his selector coaches, of course, the one and only John Mahan, who's over there on the far side of the field watching on as Lorcan Loftus lays the ball back as far as Aaron Coggins, one of the three Coggins brothers starting for Crossmolina again today. That's Kevin Mulhern, who sprays it across towards the far side, towards Diarmuid Welsh. And there's an example, Colm, of that direct approach. Crossmolina, when it's on, they like to go early to the full forward line.
They do, and you see that repeatedly through this game. They're after turning over. St Michael's coming out here.
Mistake seized on by Niall Coggins, scored a goal in the county final. Here's Coggins. He's done it again. It's taken Niall Coggins less than 3 minutes to hit the back of the St Michael's net. It all came from the turnover, the pressure applied by the Crossmolina forwards, and Niall Coggins did not need a second invitation. Beautiful finish under Stephen Daly and a dream start for the Mayo champions.
Oh, what a start for Crossmolina, Mike. As you said, a turnover from a poor hand pass. It was seized on by Niall Coggins originally. He drives on after passing off the ball, gets it in and soccer styles it into the net. Brilliant finish to him. What a start by Crossmolina that is.
Well, he's played a lot of soccer, Niall Coggins, and showed lovely skill and poise to finish one-on-one with the keeper. And now St Michael's, who are without those four key men around the middle, are on the back foot again as Aaron Coggins sprays it down in front of Packy Leddy, the Cavan man who leads the attack. Back to Jordan Flynn. Lovely football by Crossmolina, and Jordan Flynn sweeps that up and over the bar. It's been some first 4 minutes for the Deal Rovers. They have come flying out of the traps and they're gone 4 up.
They are more, and it all comes from a turnover from Conor Loftus, and they're after turnover St. Michael's here again from their own kick-out.
Diarmuid Welch pounces on the opportunity inside to Mahady, back to Welch again. Crossmolina trying to keep the pressure on here in the first 5 minutes. Recycled to Lorcan Loftus. Next man up, as it was, is Killian Fergus, who has come in to replace Dara Siren, and then Finan Duffy decides to slow it down, reset, and Crossmolina will just weigh up their options and think about their next move. The St. Michael's defence looking to close off all the obvious avenues of attack for Crossmolina as Niall Coggins links with Duffy. Finan Duffy, very experienced, has played a lot of championship minutes over his long career. Pulled back by the defender. That Michael's defence under a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. Crossmolina looked very composed on the ball. Really good play there by Finan Duffy. Just put the head down, took on his man Owen Curran, and won the free that he looked to take himself. Interesting note for Mike. Conor Loftus, big talk about him coming into the game, about the way he played throughout the Mayo Club Championship, and especially in that final replay. He's picking up the danger man, Eamon Brannigan for St. Michael's. It's something that we thought might happen during the week, and it is at the minute. They're going man on man with him.
So a chance for Crossmolina to extend their lead. That shot just flies high and wide. It's their first wide of the game so far. They have kept St. Michael's penned in. Just in terms of matchups, Kevin Mulhern has gone with David Hurley, who has dropped out around the middle of the field for St. Michael's. Mulhern, more often than not, the +1, the extra man in the Crossmolina defence, and right now he's heading back to sit in front of the Crossmolina full back line again as Gavin Somerville gets on the ball for St. Michael's. Gives it to Eamon Brannigan. First touch for the man who was man of the match in the Galway County final replay. Lovely delivery inside to pick out Brian Harlow, who's under pressure. Ball clipped the fingers of Matt Gordetsky and runs out for a 45 to Michael's. But it's the first time, Colm, we've seen Eamon Brannigan get on the ball. He made them tick against Caltra in the county final replay, and no major surprise to see he's being picked up by Conor Loftus.
No, I suppose the only thing from Crossmolina point of view, do you let Conor Loftus off the leash? But they've gone with him on Brannigan, and I think that's going to be a really good battle. And you mentioned it there, St. Michael's are going to need a big game from Brannigan to win this game today, so that's going to be a fascinating battle. You feel this is a big score, even though it's very early in the game. Gary Higgins, who was very influential in their run and winning the Galway Intermediate title, you feel like this almost needs to go over.
Well, he is a spectacularly accurate free taker, Gary Higgins. 43 points he scored for St. Michael's in the Galway Championship. In fact, he was second only to Alan Yaughton from Caltra, and it's taken St. Michael's 7 minutes to open their account. No surprise, it's Gary Higgins who hits the target. So 2 points to 1 then, or 1-1 to a point even, in the Connacht Intermediate Football semi-final. Niall Coggins' goal, the big score in the match so far. We're in the 8th minute as Packy Leddy waltzes through, and Packy Leddy kicks a lovely score at his leisure to push Crossmolina 4 points clear again.
Yeah, super score there. All comes from the kick out. JP Mulhern finds Aaron Coggins over the top and a long kick out, and the ball eventually gets to Leddy. I have to say that looked very easy, just through the dummy and he was in straight away. But a lovely relaxed score from him. But if you're St. Michael's there and you're in the management team, you're not really happy with that, because that was very easy, no intensity at all in your defending. Crossmolina, when they get the ball up there, they look like scoring all the time, and that certainly would be a worry for Mike Hughes and his management team.
Well, they have another concern here now, because unfortunately, in the act of catching that kick out spectacularly, one of the St. Michael's lads has injured himself and is going to need treatment. They're already down Conal Gallagher, David Cunyan, Ethan Fiorentini and Frank Daly from the team that was listed in the programme. We know in particular, Colm, how good Gallagher and Cunyan are. We've heard an awful lot about Ethan Fiorentini and his engine and his drive. Frank Daly was here in 2008 when Michaels were on a run. The last thing they can afford now is to lose someone like Brian Madden, who thankfully is up again and good to go.
Yeah, but then that midfield partnership that you're missing there, Cunyan and Gallagher, that is a huge loss. You can almost forgive Michaels for maybe the slow start when you're missing players, influential players around the middle third like them.
As we said, it's been a long, hard road for St. Michael's back to senior football in Galway again. Only down intermediate for one season, but with the draw against Caltra in that county final, it's meant an extra match that did go to extra time as well. So it remains to be seen just how much of a toll that has on them as this game goes on. Right now, they're trying to stitch a move together that may just lead to their second score. Eamon Brannigan, man who's based in Birmingham in the UK, travels back and forth to play with the club this season, involved again, as is Damien Connaughton, in over the top towards Harlow, but Gordetsky got a hand in to knock it away. Jordan Flynn was there as well, and now there's a fast break on for Crossmolina. Players flooding forward ahead of the ball. One of them is Jordan Flynn, the All-Star nominee from last year, to Mahady. So influential, so dangerous. Ball in over the top though is overcooked. Too much pace on it for Diarmuid Fox. Possession back with Michaels and they win a free.
Yeah, they're so open, say Michaels on a turnover, Mike, and really James Mahady was pulling his hair out there because he was open for the kick pass maybe 5 or 6 seconds before it came. By the time it came, St. Michaels have number back and they ended up turning over the ball, but they look so dangerous there on the turnovers. I think St. Michaels are going to have to look at maybe getting a permanent sweeper there because the Crossmolina forwards certainly look like they're beating the St. Michael backs.
Well, I know a huge amount of interest in this game around Galway City, around the west side in particular, and of course down in Crossmolina as well. A lot of people tuned in both communities to Connacht GA TV. Must say hello as well to a big Crossmolina contingent watching in Nashville on this Saturday afternoon. Among them, I gather, Killian Fergus's dad. I think they're on a fact-finding mission in the US. Hope you're enjoying the game so far. Here come Crossmolina. Coggins involved. It's Conor Loftus. It's a second Crossmolina goal. Beautifully created and expertly finished by Conor Loftus, who's been playing the football of his life this season for Crossmolina. A second goal. We're still inside the first 12 minutes. And St. Michael's now with a mountain to climb. Yeah. Crossmolina 7 up.
2 goals, Mike, 2 of them from turnovers. First one came from a bad hand pass. Second one comes from Aaron Coggins there around the middle of the pitch, getting in, making the interception. He's had a brilliant start to this game. The ball gets up to Loftus. As soon as he gets it, there's only one thing in his mind: head down, drives for goal, sticks it away. What a start this is for Crossmolina, and they're away again.
The pressure now on St. Michael's is relentless in this first quarter. It's Mahady, mad for road, coming in off that right wing, gets a boot to it. Just lacked the power to carry over that crossbar, and Stephen Daly will take it clear. But we're beginning to see now the loss of the likes of Conal Gallagher, David Cunyan and Ethan Fiorentini. Michael's feeling the pressure, feeling the pinch, and Crossmolina making them pay with the turnovers, the goals from Niall Coggins and Conor Loftus. And it was something we saw, Colm, throughout the Mayo Championship. It's their oxygen, really. They wait for their chance to pounce and turn you over, and they are so good on the counter-attack.
Yeah, they play with pace, they play with tempo. I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago how open St. Michael's look like, and when Crossmolina do turn them over, and 2 minutes later the ball is in the back of the net from a turnover, and that's a real energy sucker from St. Michael's point of view. You have to remember that these boys only won their Galway county title last week. They would have had a couple of days celebrations, which they're absolutely well entitled to do, and to get a start like this now, 7 down with 12 minutes on the clock against a really good Crossmolina team, down the couple of players that you already mentioned, this is a real uphill task, you feel, for them now.
Here's Brian Madden up from defence. St. Michael's need a score, and Brian Madden has delivered it. Well, he has done some inspirational things already in this game. That spectacular catch from the kick out, a few driving runs up the field, and that time he would not take no for an answer. He kicks St. Michael's second point after 13 minutes to leave 6 between them.
Yeah, he is playing quite high up. He's playing pretty much as a free man at the minute because he's getting back and he's trying to be that +1 at times for St. Michael's. So he came late in the attack there, and that was a brilliant bit of a inspiration score by him, really. And St. Michael's are on the attack now again.
St. Michael's now trying to get into a rhythm, trying to get into a flow, and crucially trying to get this man, Eamon Brannigan, on the ball. Nice crossfield pass to Owen Curran, who got forward from defence to great effect during the Galway Championship, and he does it again, and that effort is half blocked squirts out for a 45. St Michael's will get a chance to keep the scoreboard moving, and crucially from their point of view, Colm, they're getting the likes of Brannigan and Curran more into the game.
Yeah, just a couple of nice cameos there from Brannigan, getting on the ball and slipping the ball inside, nice little dink passes the top of the D. Owen Curran gets the shot of the way, but it was Lorcan Loftus that comes in, diving block, brilliant to put it out for a 45. But that man Gary Higgins now with that lethal left foot.
Yeah, he hit 13 points across the two county finals against Caltra, Gary Higgins. He's played football for Galway at underage level. He's been in really good form. That gets a touch. Oh, it's gone in. It's a goal for Michaels. The 45 from Higgins dropped short, and I think it was number 26, Ronan McGillery, the man who scored the winning goal against Caltra, who was popped up with another one for Michaels after 15 minutes. Well, it looked like the 45 was going to drop harmlessly short. Crossmolina slow to react, and McGillery with the flick to divert it past JP Mulhern and into the back of the net. And this game all of a sudden is back on again.
Oh, what a tonic that is for St Michael's. Absolutely brilliant. They've hit Crossmolina for 1-1 since Conor Loftus' goal, and they are right back into this game all of a sudden. But how often do we say it, Mike? That dropping short ball into the square, it's so lethal. JP Mulhern comes for the 45 that's dropping short, never looks like he's getting anywhere near it, and it's Ronan McGillery that comes in, gets a hand into an empty net. That's exactly what St Michael's needed.
Well, it's only the third game that JP Mulhern has conceded a goal in this season. Crossmolina pride themselves on running a tight ship at the back. They'd kept 5 clean sheets across the Mayo Championship, but JP Mulhern beaten after 15 minutes by that flicked effort from Ronan McGillery, and you can sense, Colm, around the stadium, around the field, it has given St Michael's a new lease of life.
Huge, absolutely huge, and it's amazing what a goal can do just to give that bit of energy to your team.
And here they come. It is a nice pass from David Hurley to Gavin Somerville, and Somerville makes no mistake. Well, it's quite the turnaround. St Michael's now are into their flow, they're into their rhythm, and they've just hit another lovely score. That's 1-2 on the bounce from Michael's.
Unbelievable, Mike. I literally said 3 minutes ago that this was going to be an uphill battle for St Michael's, and they've hit 1-2, as you said, in 3 minutes, and they're right back into this game. It's a 2-point game. I said at the start of the game, Mike, that this could be an absolute cracker. We're 60 minutes in, and it's been brilliant stuff from so far.
It most certainly has, and it is living up to the hype. There was a lot expected of this contest, as there always is when the Mayo and Galway champions meet at any grade in the Connacht Club Championship. And Crossmolina and St Michael's have not disappointed so far. Conditions as good as you could expect for mid-November, as Leddy feeds Gordetsky. This is Mahady on the edge of the D. Fionnán Duffy had some work to do. He turns into the tackle. Ian Monaghan, the referee, not interested, and that's really good defence from St Michael's and from Brian Harlow in particular, the number 15, back to mind the house as they go wide to Somerville on the far side. Crossmolina's turn now to try and scramble players back into defence, including Kevin Mulhern, and there's no doubt about it, St Michael's now, after a very slow start, have got to the pitch of this game as Gary Higgins gets involved from open play, given the ball by Fionnán Cruz, whose brother Fiacre played here for Moy Davits against Crossmolina in the Mayo County final. Here's Fionnán, and Fionnán Cruz leaves his mark on this Connacht Club semi-final after 17 and a half minutes. He's a Mayo man, he will know Crossmolina inside and out, and he's just kicked a score that leaves us with a 1-point game.
Yeah, brilliant score by Fionnán Cruz, and again it comes from a turnover. Fionnán Duffy takes the ball into contact at the top of the D up the other side here, gets turned over by a number of St Michael's players. They come down the right wing here, they outnumber the Crossmolina defence. The ball gets popped to Fionnán Cruz, who strokes the ball over, and all of a sudden, Mike, out of nowhere, we're down to a 1-point game.
Well, at one stage Crossmolina were 6 points up and cruising, thanks to those early goals from Niall Coggins and Conor Loftus. But in the last 5 or 6 minutes, St Michael's have come storming back into the game again, and they're beginning to find gaps, beginning to pick holes. They have now, though, picked up a yellow card for Brian Harlow for that challenge that overzealous challenge, and that gives Fionnán Duffy a chance to weigh up his options. Decides to play it back the field to Kevin Mulhern. Now popped ahead to Lorcan Loftus. Lost the ball in the tackle though, just got a dunt on the way by, and St. Michael's again shut up shop at the back and try and play on the counter. Jordan Flynn gets a hand in just to disrupt the run of Stephen Kerr. Referee is playing an advantage. St. Michael's looking to make the most of it as the ball is worked across to Damien Connaughton again. Crossmolina trying to I think hold their nerve, as it were. They have lost that cushion, that big lead. Now they're just one in front as St. Michael's begin to warm to their task, and it's quite interesting, Colm, to see the way the two teams are trying to play. They're trying to mirror each other, trying to wait in, to sit in and play on the break.
Yeah, it is, but in fairness, it's very effective. When they turn over the ball, they're counteracting, both teams counteracting at pace, and I would say a lot of scores have come from turnovers in this game. But St. Michael's with Owen Curran coming, he's been brilliant in the last 10 minutes, Mike, and he's after nailing that.
That's a spectacular score from Owen Curran, and you can see the moment he got that ball, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He gave the defender the eyes, and once he stepped inside, he created the space, and the finish, as Colm said, was first class. And believe it or not, the sides are level after 20 minutes. Michael's back from 6 down.
And they've Crossmolina absolutely rattled, there's no doubt about it. They're turning them over time and time again. They're after winning the Crossmolina kick out, that's for the second or third in a row. And they've all the momentum now as we come into, there's 10 minutes to go in this first half, and it's an absolute, I said it a few minutes ago, it's a cracking game, and Michael's are coming again.
St. Michael's attacking from all angles, from all sides, but that's better from Crossmolina. Jordan Flynn and Aaron Coggins with a little bit of help from Kevin Mulhern as well, just shutting down that Michael's runner, getting the free, and Conor Loftus releases Killian Fergus on the far side. Crossmolina have 3 men in the full forward line. Killian Fergus instead decides to pop it short to the goal scorer Niall Coggins as Crossmolina just try to get back on track. They've conceded 1-4 in the last 10 minutes, Crossmolina, as St. Michael's just get the hang of their surroundings here at Hastings Insurance McHale Park. Fionnán Duffy under pressure, needs to go back outfield again, and you just get the sense, Colm, Crossmolina just need to reset, just to recompose themselves again.
They do, as they go for a long ball inside here. It's turned over again, and that's not Brian Benson will be looking for the sideline for Crossmolina, because exactly what you said, I think they just need to slow it down there, try and get a right shot off just to settle themselves down, because they've turned over some amount of ball in the last 10 minutes. And as I said a couple of minutes ago, all the momentum is at Michael's. It's amazing how a game can turn, Mike. You know, that 45 that drops short, the ball's in the back of the net from Ronan McGillary, and all of a sudden St. Michael's out of nowhere look like they're the better team out there.
Well, certainly the first 10 minutes belong to Crossmolina. The second 10 have been owned by Michaels as Eamon Brannigan kicks inside towards Brian Harlow. Ball just broke off him. He's frustrated as Conor Loftus comes out the centre, lays it off to Niall Coggins, looks up and spots the run of Packy Leddy. Nice ball. He has options, Leddy. He's going to take his own shot. He's going to go for his own score. In hindsight, should have hit one or two of those runners that were running by, but Leddy backed himself wide ball.
Yeah, I took the wrong option, Mike, as you mentioned there. Jamer Watch, who's a left footer, was just off his shoulder. He was sitting in the pocket just for the ball to slip back to him to kick it over the bar, but Leddy takes the ball on, takes the shot on from his weaker left foot, and Brian Prince will be really frustrated with that, because the last couple of attacks that Crossmolina have had, they've made poor decisions.
St. Michael's again go from back to front very quickly, and it's that man Owen Curran, the joint captain, scored a goal on their run to the Galway County title. He's already scored once here this afternoon, and again anxious to get involved, anxious to get his hands on the ball. Fionnán Cruz, another of the scorers, to Brian Madden, who's also raised a white flag. And that's been one of the features, really, Colm, of St. Michael's comeback in this first half. We were expecting the bulk of their scorers to come from Gary Higgins, the free taker. There's been a great spread of scorers as up the field comes David Hurley now, looking to get a shot off, but he didn't spot the arrival of Aaron Coggins. Ball breaks to Brannigan. He's yet to score, snatches at that effort, and Brannigan's shot flies high and wide. But to go back to that point, Colm, about the spread of scorers in the St. Michael's team.
Yeah, 6 different scores, I think, out of their 1-5, which is really, really impressive, I have to say. And that shot from Eamon Brannigan, that's the first wide they've had in this game, so they have been really efficient when they've got the shots up there.
So 23 minutes in comes St. Michael's first wide. As Colm said, they have been very, very efficient. That's a loose pass, though, seized on by Gordetsky, and there might be a break on here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Fionn Cruz has definitely gone to midfield to pick up Jordan Flynn, and them two are having a massive battle. Both have kicked a point so far in this game, but even from the kick-outs up in the air, they're really physical, and I have to say Cruz is more than holding his own there at the minute.
Certainly Mike Hughes' decision to put Cruz on Flynn has curbed his influence in the centre of the field. I can see Gary Higgins and Aaron Coggins getting to know one another. Aaron Coggins is taking his man-marking duties extremely seriously, but it's no more, Colm, or no less than you'd expect. There's a lot on the line with a Connacht final next weekend.
It's brilliant to watch, Mike. There's a bit of bite in this now. There's a real tempo, there's a real intensity, there's loads of quality on view as well, so this game has a really nice feel to it at the minute.
It's about 14 minutes, I make it, since Crossmolina last scored, by the way. They have really struggled to make inroads in the last quarter of an hour as St. Michael's come more and more into the match. Gary Higgins drops deep to get his hands on the ball across towards Gavin Somerville. He's trying to take on Killian Fergus. Kevin Mulhern is sitting close to goal, waiting for one of the runners. Now Mulhern gets ready to engage Somerville. That was a really decisive fist from Jordan Flynn to hammer that ball back out the field from where it came, and Michaels will have to start all over. There's a tug on the jersey of Gary Higgins, free, quickly taken. And despite the fact it's their fourth weekend out in a row, Colm, you can see now Michaels, because they're playing so well at the moment, they want to keep the pace high.
That's it, yeah, and it's going to be very interesting. Can they maintain this into the second half when maybe the effects of the 3 or 4 weekends in a row might catch up on them, but at the minute they're absolutely flying out there.
Cathal Maher pops it ahead to the number 18, that's Jack Brown, one of the 4 players who came in before the start. Here's Curran again, could pop up anywhere to Brannigan, just the way he likes it, and Eamon Brannigan with a trademark score. Well, he had some really good days here in Castlebar over the years for Galway against Mayo in big league and championship matches. It's taken him 26 minutes to get his first score, but the good news for Michael's, Colm, is that Brannigan now has joined that scoring list.
Yeah, he is, but it's Owen Curran coming from the back again, Mike, and it's something Crossmolina are going to have a look at, because he's got on the scoreboard already, and I would say he's had 2 or 3 assists driving with that number 7 position. As James Mahady, that's a super score.
Well, I was just about to tell you that St. Michael's were in front for the first time in this match, and then down the field come Crossmolina, and up pops James Mahady to level the match again. And remember, it's not that long ago that St. Michael's were 6 down. Crossmolina looked to be in cruise control. Now, with 3.5 minutes of normal time left in the first half, we're right back to square one as Crossmolina get in tight and hard on Gavin Somerville to win the free and the turnover.
And Crossmolina were scrambling back. That was a brilliant scramble, but if Gavin Somerville had got his head up, he could see Brian Harlow was all alone in the forward line on his own with the Crossmolina defender scrabbling back, and there was a goal chance on, but Crossmolina got the scramble defence back, overturned the ball, and they're on the attack, but they have to turn over the ball itself, and that's Fionn Duffy again. That's 2 or 3 times he's been turned over there in that Crossmolina forward line.
Again, they took the wrong option there, Crossmolina. They ran into a crowd of bodies. That's a brilliant ball from Brannigan to Harlow. He could be in. Gordetsky did really well initially to hold him up. Jordan Flynn got back to double up, but they couldn't stop Harlow swinging the shot up and over the bar. But I think in hindsight, Brian Benson, the Crossmolina manager, will feel that Crossmolina were lucky not to concede a goal there, and credit where it's due to Gordetsky for putting the pressure on Harlow, who has just kicked St. Michael's back in front.
That's the exact situation I just talked about 2 minutes ago, Mike. That kick pass was on to Harlow, and the initial kick out, but Crossmolina got back and got turned over. They didn't get lucky this time. The ball went over the top to Harlow, who just was in an acre of space. It was a simple ball over the top. Gordetsky gets back, but Harlow gets the score. But it's end to end, Mike. It's frantic. There's turnovers. There's good bouts of tackling, good bouts of intensity. There's loads of quality as well. It's a really good game. As the referee is down at the minute, and he's just chatting to his umpires.
Yeah, the referee Ian Monaghan has gone down to his umpires behind the St. Michael's goal, away to our left, and while he's doing that, I see one of his linesmen here on the near side has gone in to wave a finger in the direction of Fionn Cruz, the man who's marking Jordan Flynn. So I think we can probably draw our own conclusions, Colm, from what might be happening there.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a bit of off the ball stuff there, but the notebook is coming out, but it's...
Yeah, he's gone looking for a St. Michael's man.
It's Gary Higgins, I think. Now, there was something off the ball a couple of minutes ago between Gary Higgins and Aaron Coggins.
That's right.
He hasn't called over Aaron Coggins, which is surprising because they both look to be at it. So it'll be interesting to see what's coming here, because it is quite a long conversation. Gary Higgins is not happy.
Well, there's a card coming, and it's a straight red for Gary Higgins. Well, whatever was seen by the umpires down behind the St. Michael's goal, it was enough to warrant a red card for Gary Higgins. Now that means St. Michael's are down to 14 men. Their top scorer, their free taker, and one of their key players is out of the match after 29 minutes.
That is incredible. Absolutely incredible. You talk about momentum changing in a game, how it swung for Michaels earlier on. Is it after swinging back in Crossmolina's favour there with the red card for one of the most influential players you mentioned earlier on, Mike? He scored 43 points in the Galway Championship. He's after getting a straight red card. We'll try and clear it up at half-time what exactly happened. But that is a huge blow for St. Michael's.
Well, is that... a game-changing moment? It certainly will give St. Michael's a lot of food for thought at half-time. Now they will have to reassess their options, and likewise Crossmolina, who will have an extra man heading in to the second half. Speaking of which, we're just hearing we'll have at least 3 minutes of added time in this AIB Connacht Intermediate Club Football semi-final. We've had a 7-point swing in this game, a 6-point Crossmolina advantage, now a 1-point lead for Michaels, as the extra man now may begin though to come to bear as Loftus gets involved. Conor Loftus plays the 1-2, takes the return, takes on half of the St. Michael's defence, but he overcarried, brought the ball into traffic, free out.
Yeah, look, sometimes when a red card comes in a game, the referee can give the benefit of the doubt of the 50-50 calls to the opposition, and that's exactly what happened in that scenario. I think that's a free in for Loftus. I think he's fouled. I think he does everything right, but probably because the red card comes a few minutes earlier, the free goes to St. Michael's, but that's the nature of the game, I suppose. But I just hope that red card doesn't ruin the game, Mike, that it doesn't change the flow of the game, that the way St. Michael's obviously were approaching the game earlier on, they're obviously going to have to change their tactics a bit, but it was brilliant up to that, so let's not hope that the red card spoils it.
Well, as Colin mentioned earlier, there's a real edge, a bite to this game. There always is, of course, when Galway and Mayo teams cross paths at any level, in any competition. And today, no different, as the men from St. Michael's in Galway City now try to battle on in added time here with 14 men. And that's a heavy challenge by Diarmuid Welch on the ball carrier. And interesting to see that Ian Monaghan wants to talk to his linesman, I think, to get a second opinion.
Yeah, and he's calling over Diarmuid Welch, or is he? No, he's not. He's letting it play.
Yeah, that was a heavy hit on Stephen Kerr, and I think Ian Monaghan just wanted to make sure he hadn't missed anything.
Yeah, I don't think Diarmuid Welch could do anything about it. I think literally it was a collision, there was nothing to it, both players just ran into each other and away we go. It's interesting, I think Aaron Goggins looks like he's actually going to be the free man. He was picking up Gary Higgins on that one-on-one on that matchup. It looks like he's going to be the spare man for Crossmolina in that defence.
So Brian Benson and his management team of Budgie McNulty, John O'Malley and John Maughan, they will have some thinking to do, some talking to do at the break. Their team one down but with an extra man. But on the Michael side, Mike Hughes, Mike Hochter, Peter Tormey, John Ruan and Mark Bann. They're the management team now that have to try and figure out how they can win this game with 14 men. Ball is played long, diagonal, towards Brian Harlow, who's led the line really impressively in this first half. Gets his hands on the ball again. Somerville makes a run out from the edge of the D. Recycled across towards Jack Brown, who crashes into the Crossmolina defender Lorcan Loftus, who's all there, the Crossmolina number 7, forces him backwards. Next man up for Michaels is David Hurley, and he's been pulled back Packy Letty just had a little tug of the jersey. Somebody spoken out of turn. I think it may well have been Letty, who just had a little bite back at the referee. Ball brought forward 13 metres.
Yeah, discipline there for Letty. Might have been slightly on the harsh side, the free, but once you say something to the referee, especially when he's after sending off a man, he's always going to give the advantage to the other team. So Brian Vincey won't be happy with that. But Brian Harlow here with the chance to put St. Michael's 2 up just as we come into half time, and this will be a big boost for them coming into the break.
So up steps Brian Harlow. It's a big chance, and it's a big miss from the Michaels free taker. It would have given them a 2-point cushion heading in at half time. But as it is, Colm, I make it they've outscored Crossmolina 1-5 to a point in the last 23 minutes of that half. It has been a game of 2 quarters, this semi-final so far.
Incredible, yeah. And you look at the score, like 8 scores to 5 for St. Michael's, and there's a few words as the teams are coming off here. Crossmolina after holding their players, I think, just to make sure there's no argy-bargy. St. Michael's aren't happy at all. I can see their management team over there. There's a lot of remonstration going on. I don't think they're happy at all with the Gary Higgins red card. Obviously, we're not fully sure what happened in that scenario, Mike. We could see Higgins and Coggins both pulling off each other at the exact same time. We must have missed something after that, because if a red card comes for Higgins, there's no repercussions for Aaron Coggins, which was probably quite surprising. And all of a sudden, St. Michael's are down to 14 men. I think if you're Brian Benson and the Crossmolina management team going in at half time, you really have to urge on the side of caution with discipline in your team now. You can't have any of your players lashing out, losing a bit of indiscipline, because the referee more likely would even it up if he got an opportunity. So I think that's crucial for them. For St. Michael's, it's going to be really interesting to see now when they get a chance how they're going to set up. Are they going to just try and shut up shop here, try and keep it tight, play in the counter-attack like they haven't been doing, and leave the likes of Brian Harlow up front? Because in fairness, when they do isolate him up there, he can win the ball and maybe get runners off him, like Owen Kern come from deep, like Eamon Brannigan maybe come from deep. It's going to be interesting to see now how they set up. Even though they are a point up, and I made this point earlier on, they're going 4 weeks in a row. They're missing a lot of players around that middle third that haven't started, but maybe might come in the second half and make a big boost to them. It's going to be really interesting now. This is a game exactly where we would want it as a neutral, as a spectator. It's got everything coming in the second half. I would expect to see fireworks when these two come out at the start of the second half.
You're very welcome back to Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. As you can see, 2 teams back out, ready to go. And Colm Boyle, no doubt what the major talking point was during the half-time break.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about it. No one around us really seems to have saw what exactly happened there, so we'll probably only get it clarified maybe after the game, but it's a huge talking point, yeah. And it's going to be very interesting for St. Michael's, because the general consensus is, this is the 3rd, 4th weekend in a row, missing a couple of big players around that middle third. They're down to 14 men now at the start of the second half. Is that going to take its effect as we get into the closing stages, the last 10 or 15 minutes of this game?
Well, I can't tell you why it happened, but I can tell you it just has happened. Number 18, Jack Brown, has just been shown a yellow card by the referee, Ian Monaghan, before the start of this second half. And Colm, I'm not sure if that relates to something that happened as the teams went down the tunnel.
That's all I can think of, because there was a bit of argy-bargy. There was a few words, I think, between both teams and management teams as well. So maybe that's coming as part of that. I think interesting, Conor Loftus hasn't started on Eamon Brannigan at the start of this half. He did start on him straight away at the start of the first half, with Jeremy Cox looks to be picking him up at the start of this half.
So away we go then. Second half is on. This is the AIB Connacht Intermediate Club Football semi-final, as Crossmolina pumped the ball in towards the edge of the square, but it is dealt with by the Michaels defence, and it will be cleared over there by the aforementioned Jack Brown, or it won't be, because in fact Fionn Cruz has overcarried the ball. Good pressure by Crossmolina, free in,
and it was all down to Jordan Flynn, Mike. The ball got turned over. Patrick Letty kicks a long ball into Flynn, who gone in from full forward from the throw in. The ball get intercepted. Fionn Cruz coming out with the ball, but Jordan Flynn hunts him down, doesn't let him out, eventually forces the turnover, and Crossmolina goes short surprisingly from the free.
Short they go, work it back to Lorcan Loftus. Loftus tries to bring Mahady into the game. Crossfield pass hasn't worked out for Crossmolina, and instead Michaels have got the ball back again. David Hurley involved in the turnover, as the ball is worked into the hands again of Fionn Cruz, who's had his own an effective impact on this game, has certainly grown into the match like all of his colleagues after a slow start, as Jordan Flynn comes thundering onto that ball to win it, goes long in over the top. He's looking for Fionnán Duffy. Diarmuid Welch is in the centre, but Duffy just delayed getting there, and across came Shane Maloney to get the tackle in. He has fouled Duffy. They'll get the free, but for a moment it looked like there was more on offer.
Yeah, it looked like a goal chance. Just Jordan Flynn just overcooked the kick pass into Duffy there, but again it comes from a turnover, and it comes from that man Jordan Flynn, who's made 2 turnovers at the start of this second half. Gets in, makes the interception, kicks it into Duffy, who wins the free, and I don't think he's going to go short in this one now, Mike. He's on the 14, should tap this over the bar, make it a level game.
So it's Fionnán Duffy then to kick the free. This is very straightforward for a free taker of Duffy's ability and capacity, and that is the equaliser off the boot of Fionnán Duffy, and the 15 men of Crossmolina are back on level terms in the 3rd minute of the second half.
Yeah, and I think that's Fionnán Duffy's first point from play, which is unusual because he's Crossmolina's top scorer coming into that. So long kick out here, and it goes long, and again it's Flynn. That's 3 in a row from him now.
So Flynn again now beginning to open the shoulders and come more and more into this game, as Diarmuid Coggins lays it off to James Mahady. Michaels have brought 13 men back behind the ball. That leaves just one man, Brian Harlow, in the Crossmolina half of the field. Conor Loftus has played with Mayo in All-Ireland finals and National League finals. He's a big game player. This is Leddy, who goes straight through, and Patrick Leddy, the man who learnt his trade with the Red Hills Club in County Cavan, has put Crossmolina back in front. Well, it's been a roller coaster of a match from a Crossmolina point of view, but they're back in front 5 minutes into the second half.
And if you're Mike Hughes, you're really frustrated with that. That's far too easy from St. Michael's point of view. Patrick Leddy just gives a simple ball over the top over Damien Connaughton and Abram Brannigan's head, and he runs off the back of the 2 of them who just let him go. He takes back the hand pass and fists it over the bar. That's really poor for St. Michael's.
Now, a chance for Michaels to show what they can do. It's Gavin Somerville, turns into the tackle. A good, solid, fair challenge it was. And in fact, Crossmolina get the free out.
And it's Flynn again. Like, it's Flynn again. That's his 4th big play at the start of the second half. Gets the big hand in, and the ball hits the ground, and Aaron Coggins picks it up, and Crossmolina are away.
Well, certainly whatever was said to Jordan Flynn by Brian Benson or perhaps John Mahan at the break, it would seem to be working. He is really now like a man on a mission as Conor Loftus takes up the baton and goes forward, gives it to Mahady. Crossmolina have come out of the blocks quickly again at the start of this second half, but the shot from Mahady has drifted wide. Not as unerring or as prolific as he was here 2 weeks ago.
No, I'm probably just snatched it a small bit, Mike. I would say there was maybe another play in that. He could have worked it a small bit closer to goal, but he decided, I suppose, the confidence he's been playing with throughout the Mayo Club Championship, he decided the shot was on, he took it on, but he just didn't get enough on it.
Kick out from Stephen Daly, drops to the far side. Again, it's won by Crossmolina, who are keeping the pressure on. Nice ball, picks out Fionnán Duffy. Now he's got time and space to work with, but can he find the finish? That was really good defensive play by Fionnán Cruz, who came across to throw himself through the air, distracted Duffy. Another miss, 2 in a row for Crossmolina.
Yeah, but I tell you, if you're Diarmuid Coggins, you're not one bit happy with Fionnán Duffy there, because he's an acre of the space just about 10 yards over to the right hand side. He's completely free and open if Duffy just gets the head up and pops it off, but he goes for the spectacular shot and he forces it wide. Has another long kick out here from St. Michael's, and this time they've won this one. That's a huge one for them, because that's the first kick out they've won to start this second half.
And one over there by Ronan McGillery, the man who scored the goal in the first half for Michaels. Kicks it into the centre. He's asking an awful lot of Owen Curran, jumping with Conor Loftus. Ball runs free and it's fallen on the Crossmolina side. It's been a good positive start to the second half by the Mayo champions, but they're only 1 in front. Should be at least 3, you'd feel, having missed those couple of chances. Diarmuid Welch now looking to get room to manoeuvre. Inside to Loftus again. Lovely, neat build-up play. It's Diarmuid Welch who just delayed the shot. Across came Brian Madden to make a brilliant block, and Crossmolina have to try and win the second ball. They have, I think, got a free, but there's Michael's man down. I think it's Brian Madden for the second time who's on the flat of his back. But the build-up play again from Crossmolina, Cullum, very easy on the eye.
Yeah, it was very easy on the eye. I think Jimmer Walsh, the shot opened up for him. He just took that second too long. And at first to Brian Madden, he got in, made the block, and I don't know, did he get a bang to the head? The second time he goes down on it, he just goes down holding his head, so maybe he got a bang to the head. He obviously did, and I don't think it's going to be a free in for Crossmolina, Mike. I think they'll have to go short in this one and try and work a score from it. They won't be able to go direct from the score here, obviously. They'll just have possession, but it's amazing, Mike. The first half has started the start of the second half, it's been very similar to the start of the first half. Crossmolina come out of the blocks early, look very impressive. Dominating around the middle now, obviously, with that extra man they have out there. Can Michaels respond to this? Can they just stay in this game for as long as possible, bring this game down the stretch the last 10 minutes and see can they win it from there? The last thing they want now is Crossmolina getting ahead of steam up like they did in the first half, because if they go 5, 6, 7 up again like they did in the first half, you don't feel like there's going to be a way back for Michaels a second time, especially now they're down 14 men.
Well, you certainly sense that this game, in terms of twists and turns, has a few more pages to write as Brian Madden makes his way towards the sideline, and as Colm said, he seemed to pick up a bang to the head, so whether that's a temporary change or not, we'll keep an eye on that, but they would want to get him back in as quickly as possible, assuming he's fit to continue. Crossmolina have taken that indirect free kick, as it were, play stop because of the bang to Brian Madden, but crucially from a Crossmolina point of view, they hold possession. It's Conor Loftus. He has Killian Fergus up in support, now James Mahady. Jordan Flynn thought about the shot just for a moment, instead uses Conor Loftus again. Referee having to sidestep Conor Loftus as he came across him. Here's Duffy. He was always going to shoot. He's always going to shoot. And Duffy hits the target. Well, after a couple of missed chances, Fionn Duffy has found his range. That's good news for Crossmolina. It's good news for Duffy. And the Mayo champions are 2 up.
Yeah, I was probably slightly critical of him a couple of minutes to go. The shot he took on. Again, he took on a very similar shot there, but this time vitally for him. And for his team, Crossmolina, he absolutely nails it. And the referee here now was talking to Eamon Brannigan, who's picking up a yellow card. I'm not sure was it for a late tackle on Conor Loftus, who's gone back on at the minute. So
I was just going to make that point to you, Colm. I mean, when you consider Gary Higgins has been shown a red card, obviously he and Michaels felt it was harsh, but then that's followed by Jack Brown now and Eamon Brannigan picking up yellows in this third quarter. Discipline is going to be crucial if Michaels have any chance of getting back into this.
Yeah, and look, you can see they're frustrated at the minute. There probably still is a lot of frustration, I would say, from that red card as they try the kick out here, but they're after getting turned over, and you just feel like they're on the in fairness to them, they're after turning the ball back over here with Damien Connacht. But discipline, I think, for both teams is key, because Crossmolina can't fall into the boat of maybe lashing out, maybe giving the referee a decision to level things up here. So I think it's really important for both teams, Mike.
Well, Michaels have taken out Ronan McGillivray. He's been taken off, and on comes Dara O'Malley 10 minutes into the second half as St. Michael's try to find a way back into this game. Owen Curran, their dynamic number 7, involved again. Ball is recycled back to David Hurley, who hooks it across towards Fionn Cruz. Crossmolina have left 2 men up, Patrick Leddy and James Mahady, as Fionn Duffy is happy to stop Eamon Brannigan at source. He is the St. Michael's playmaker. Right now he's being tracked by a couple of Crossmolina defenders, but I think Conor Loftus has got the main man marking job as Brian Madden back on the field again. He's been in the wars a few times, tries to carry the fight to Crossmolina, links with Harlow. 3 defenders in his path, and between the 3 of them, they managed to stop him, disrupt him, and they've also managed to win the line ball. That was some piece of defensive play by Crossmolina.
It was, but again, Mike, it just goes the advantage of having the extra man. They were able to get numbers around the ball carrier. In fairness, it's Brian Madden. The first time he hits the ground, he gets the ball back up to Brian Harlow, but the turnover is forced. But I think a lot of it has just come from that extra man that Crossmolina have. It's making a huge difference at the minute as Conor Loftus comes right through the heart of the defence.
Loftus, another great piercing run to set Crossmolina on the front foot. Here's Jeremy Coggins, involved twice in the move, Jeremy Coggins, and comes up with a lovely score. but that all came from another decisive break from Conor Loftus, All-Ireland minor winner back in 2013. Crossmolina lead by a clear goal again. They're back on top 11 minutes into the second half.
And they've won another kick out from St. Michael's. I think that's 3 out of the first 4 kickouts, maybe 4 of the first 5 actually that Crossmolina have won. They're really pressing up, putting that pressure on them. The Michaels are finding it so hard to get out at the minute as the shot is about to open up here, possibly.
Crossmolina have hit 4 points without reply at the start of the second half. Diarmuid Coggins looking for 2 in a row. Well, the man with the Midas touch, Diarmuid Coggins, has kicked another super score, 2 in the space of 60 seconds. Well, Crossmolina look like a different team now. That's 5 points without reply.
Yeah, and it's 4 points at the start of the second half. They're flying like they are. They're pushing up on the St. Michael's kick out. And I'm just looking at the substitution here. It's Finn Cruz with a massive first half. He's coming off. He was picking up Jordan Flynn, but obviously Jordan Flynn has come storming into this game at the start of the second half. And Michaels have decided to change that up there. But you feel like this is a crucial 5 minutes here for Michaels. They have to try and stay in this game. They have to try and find a way of getting a couple of scores on the board, of stopping this Crossmolina momentum, because Crossmolina are absolutely flying, Mike, and the Coggins brothers are absolutely dominating this game at the minute.
Well, Mike Hughes, the St. Michael's manager, has sent in Dara McGovern to replace Fionn Cruz. McGovern has gone straight in towards Jordan Flynn to try and make life difficult for him. But it did seem like Flynn was beginning to wear down Fionn Cruz. He was beginning to get on top. Michaels are worried. Here's Darren McGovern, and he's won a free. Well, he's only on the field a matter of moments, and he's already making his influence felt on this match, and it is a free into Michaels.
Yeah, it is, and I think it could be possibly a yellow card coming here as well. And you just wonder, Mike, is this the type of scenario where again you miss the likes of Gary Higgins here, a left footer on this side? Eamon Brannigan's going to take this on. He's actually looking to go short, I think, or is he going outside of the boot at it? And he doesn't have it, I don't think, by the looks of it. I think that's where you really feel the loss of a Gary Higgins, not just from a numbers point of view, but the quality from the free take. And like, that is a real energy sapper if you're a St. Michael's player. Eamon Brannigan just throwing it outside of the right of it doesn't really ever look comfortable on it. Doesn't look like it's ever got really a chance. And Crossmolina coming back down the pitch now and looking to stretch their lead out further.
Quick kick out by JP Mulhern, and Crossmolina are on the attack again. It's Diarmuid Coggins who's really enjoying himself. That's a terrific score from Diarmuid Coggins. Well, he'll remember this Connacht semi-final regardless of the outcome now. 3 points for the Crossmolina number 10 in less than 3 minutes. 3 absolute peaches of scores, and all of a sudden Crossmolina have gone 5 points up.
That's incredible from Diarmuid Coggins. He's really in the flow at the minute. As soon as he got the ball, he's only one thing on his mind: take on his man, cut back onto his left foot. 3 points in a row for Crossmolina, 3 points in a row for Coggins. They're absolutely flying at the minute. Jordan Flynn coming in, making a big tackle again. It's another turnover from Flynn, and Owen Kearns comes in and lashes out. Probably referee looking to speak to him here. But again, Flynn, how many turnovers he made, Michael, start the second half, between winning turnovers, winning kickouts? He must be up on 5 or 6 at this stage, as Carl Carolan looks like he's coming into the play.
Yeah, Brian Benson is sending in Carl Carolan. He's taking out Killian Fergus. So we've had a 6-point swing in this Connacht Intermediate semi-final. Michael's one up at the break, but crucially a man down as well, and that red card for Gary Higgins is really now beginning to hurt the Galway champions. They're back in this provincial series for the first time since 2008. Back then they went on to win the Connacht Intermediate title, but right now they are staring down the barrel of an exit at the semi-final stage unless they can get back into this thing, as Duffy's free drops in around the square, won by Leddy. Chance for Niall Coggins, who shoots on sight, and that shot flies high and wide. But what an option Cathal Carolan is to have on the bench for Crossmolina, a man who was part of the Mayo squads in 2012 and 2013 when they went to the All-Ireland finals against Donegal and Dublin. And his experience, Colm, in these last 15 minutes now could be crucial.
Yeah, and he's involved here straight away in a tackle. Yeah, but like I said, a good wise head to be coming into to the play at this stage as Crossmolina, but I was just watching Jordan Flynn off the ball there. You know, he was talking to his Crossmolina as he was pointing to his head. He wants them to stay really focused as they get in, make the turnover again. It's Lorcan and Loftus that gets in, and Aaron Coggins, who's played as a free man since that sending off, comes up the pitch and gets Crossmolina on the attack.
Crossmolina now, the turnovers giving them the opportunity to keep the pressure on St. Michael's. Well, they have always held their own over the years in the Connacht Club Championship. Have Crossmolina had some great days back in the early noughties in particular, as Conor Loftus steps up yet again. Well, what a season he's having, Conor Loftus. Led from the front in the county final replay win over Moy Davits, and he has stepped up again today in a big way. He's been absolutely outstanding, and when you consider, Colm, he's got the job of marking one Eamon Brannigan, he really has taken the game to Michaels.
Yeah, really good. You know, started the first half, you know, he was electric. He's been really good to start the second half. That's a super score, Mike. Took it on the run, never broke stride at all, caressed it over the bar from 35 metres out. Brilliant score by him, but that's 6 in a row now for Crossmolina. We said at the start second half, Mike, the 14 men, the 3 or 4 weeks in a row, the big players that St. Michael's are missing. Would that take its toll as the half has gone on? It definitely, certainly looks like it has, but I have to say the energy that Crossmolina brought to this game at the start second half, I'm sure it's something they would have spoke about at half time. They really have to up the ante, up the intensity. I think Jordan Flynn did that right from the start of the half, and everything has flowed from that, and they've got some really good scores, and Fionn Duffy is looking to make this 7 without replying out.
Yes, so many questions being asked of Michaels all over the field as Fionn Duffy goes looking for something a little bit special wide on his own side. He would have loved that one, I'm sure. Knowing the man, he probably had the celebration already planned, but drops wide. Crossmolina will have to be content for the moment with a 6-point lead as Mike Hughes brings in David Cunyan, the team captain who wasn't fit to start. Looks like desperate needs and desperate measures and all of that. So Cunyan is on with 12 minutes of normal time to go, and the player has been taken out. Number 18, Jack Brown, but David Cunyan wearing a lot of strapping on his left thigh, involved right from the get-go. Ball runs free, and who else but the workaholic Jordan Flynn to get his hands on the dirty ball again and set up Diarmuid Coggins, the man who's been on a scoring streak in this second half, to Mahady. Just the one score for James Mahady so far, but his reputation had certainly preceded him, I think, coming into this game. He's been very tightly marked by Michaels as Crossmolina play keep ball. Played across from Leddy to Niall Coggins, the man who scored the first goal way back in the 3rd minute of the first half. And now it's all about managing this game, Colm, for the next 11-12 minutes, because Crossmolina would look to have done the hard part.
Yeah, but at the same time they were 5-6 up in the first half, so they need to learn from that. Granted, Michael don't look like the same energy, and you know, but down to 14 isn't going to help them in that regard. So yeah, look, I think from a Crossmolina point of view, they just need to keep doing what they're doing, keep driving forward, keep looking for scores like Aaron Coggins is doing now, but he's run into a bit of trouble. But I think the thing is for Crossmolina, all the boys up top now, the 5 out of the 6 forwards have scored from play. They really look like their confidence is flowing when they get the ball up there. They're trying to get the right shot off now. They're playing without pressure now. They're playing without fear because they feel like they're in control, so they just need to keep that scoreboard ticking over from their point of view. Down the other end, St. Michael's just don't look like they're going to get attacks and to get the scores off to get back into this game as Fionn Duffy, and I think that's the right call. Over carries the ball.
Well, the winners here will be in action again next weekend in the Connacht Intermediate Club final against either Elfin of Roscommon or Eastern Harps of Sligo. And I can tell you the latest score in that game, Elfin lead Eastern Harps by 9 points to 7, and they're at a similar stage in the second half. So that game much closer, but Elfin, the Roscommon champions, right now look set to play in next weekend's Connacht Intermediate final, but a long way to go here in Castlebar. It is advantage Crossmolina, but St. Michael's have a free in, and with Gary Higgins sent off and options running fairly low, I think they're going to look to Owen Kern to come all the way up from defence to kick the free.
Yeah, that's what they're left with. In fairness, that's really good play from the substitute Darragh O'Malley there. Didn't have much else on, just had to put the head down, take on his man, and he forced the free, and it just gives St. Michael's a chance here to get on the scoreboard, maybe even put a bit of a press now on the Crossmolina kick out, try and push maybe an extra man up, push their goalie up maybe, and just try and get a bit of momentum back in this game.
Well, they haven't scored in the second half, St. Michael's, and that run will go on just a little longer, wide from the free from Owen Kern. Their last score came back in the 28th minute of the first half, so I make that a total of 26, almost 27 minutes since St. Michael's last score.
Yeah, and I've mentioned the term energy sappers a couple of times in this game, and like that is an absolute killer for St. Michael's. You know, you think you've got a score on the board there, and Owen Kearns, who's not a natural free taker, and we have to take that in consideration, misses the shot, puts it wide, and Crossmolina come down the pitch from the short kick out, and Duffy takes on his man again, wins a free, and opportunity here to put Crossmolina 7 points up, and St. Michael's look like they're really struggling at the minute. I think that it's really unfortunate that they've had only a week's turnaround into this game, and obviously that the sending off as well has been a huge factor, and a couple of injuries as well. They're trying to run the bench now, get fresh legs in, to maybe finish strong for the last 7-8 minutes, whatever's left in this game.
It was Darragh O'Malley who conceded the free. Mike Hughes is sending in James Somerville, and the player who's been taken off is David Hurley, who really has run himself into the ground. And with 8 minutes to go, Fionnán Duffy stands over this free. They have scored in this second half, Crossmolina, 7 points without reply. Duffy looking to make it 8. Well, it's all going to plan now for the Deal Rovers. A point down at half time. They go 7 up again with 7.5 minutes left in this Connacht semi-final. Duffy has found his range and is into his rhythm, into his groove, and it will actually be his last act of the game. Just as I say that, Brian Benson, I think, feels there's no point in taking any risks with his number 11. So off comes Fionnán Duffy, and on comes Edward Goff for the last 7 minutes or so, as St. Michael's live dangerously off the short kick out. Mahady could be in, and James Mahady's shot flies up and over the bar. Well, it is now 9 points without reply for Crossmolina. They are just really driving their advantage home.
And they're making hay off the St. Michael's kick out. They're pushing right up in it. They're forcing the air all the time. And that was obviously a goal chance. And James Mahady, probably a bit wild on the effort, I would say. Just needs to slow it down, maybe try and keep it low at the bottom corner. But he got right under the ball. And look, he got the score out of it. I think Brian Benson will be happy. The scoreboard is ticking over. 9 point game, as you mentioned. And again, Crossmolina turn St. Michael's over and on the attack again.
Well, they've had the 2-week break, Crossmolina, and that little bit of extra recovery time, that extra week now is beginning to tell. Lovely ball from Goff, looking for Diarmuid Fox. Good goalkeeping though by Stephen Daly, who came out quickly from his line, spotted the run of Fox. Now Matt Gordetsky is gone down with what looks like cramp in the centre of the field, and in any event, Brian Benson is making a change. Mikey Loftus, the team captain, who's been injured a lot this season, he's coming on. Lorcan Loftus is going off. By the looks of things, Matt Gordetsky is going to join him on the sideline shortly, Colin, because he looks to be in some trouble with his calf there.
Yeah, and I think at this stage Crossmolina won't be taking any risks. Obviously this game is going to play on, and the kick-out's going to come right down where Gordetsky is down at the minute. But yeah, I'm sure Crossmolina, they've someone prepared there at the far side there to come in. And again, Niall Coggins makes the turnover, and this is the goal chance.
Coggins to Mahady. They've got a 3-on-3. It's Diarmuid Welch. Well, they could have worked the goal chance. Diarmuid Welch takes the point. That's his first score of the day, and that now means, believe it or not, but Crossmolina have hit, I make it, 10 points in a row since half-time.
Yeah, and he's completed the set up top now. All 6 forwards Crossmolina have scored from play. They're electric up there at the minute. They're full of confidence, full of life, and they're killing St. Michael's on the turnover, if it's from a kick out or from normal play, and they're making hay off that. But St. Michael's now at the minute look like they're just waiting for this game to be done. They look exhausted out there. Crossmolina are full of life, full of energy, and that extra week, I think, certainly has made a huge difference in this game. And look at that, Jordan Flynn, but he's been turned over.
It was Owen Kern who won the loose ball, but he touched it on the ground. He picked it off the ground, spotted by Ian Monaghan. And that just sums up St. Michael's second half.
Just nothing going for them. Absolutely nothing going for them. And Owen Kern, who was absolutely sensational in that first half, especially in that comeback for St. Michael's, just hasn't happened for him at the start of this half. Missed a free, obviously earlier on, possible chance there if he got that ball scooped off the ground. But again, it was Jordan Flynn. The ball was kicked in. He actually won the ball, but then dropped it. But St. Michael's weren't able to take advantage from that.
Well, Mike Hughes is sending on Frank Daly, another of the starters who had to sit this one out due to injury. He was on the field when they won a Connacht Intermediate title back in 2008. He'll be on the field again today when they exit the competition 16 years later. What a great servant he's been to Michaels, a great warrior, as Brian Benson also makes a change. Adam Mills is on to get some minutes, and Matt Gordetsky is the player who's taken out. Looked to be struggling with a calf problem, some cramp, and no surprise to see him now heading to the dugout at this stage in the game. Crossmolina cruising again, 9 points in front, and all of the effort and all of the energy it took St. Michael's to get the better of Oranmore Mary in that Galway semi-final, and the two epic matches against Caltra. Well, it's caught up with them here in the second half, trying to operate as well against a team at Crossmolina's level, Column, with only 14 men. And I can only imagine on the journey back to Galway City this evening, there'll be one major talking point, the sending off. It was a massive call and it had a huge impact on the game.
Yeah, and look, my initial thoughts at the time, I had a big fear that it actually could ruin the game. And look at the way Crossmolina starts the second half. Maybe it would have happened anyway, but I think it would have been a lot less likely if St. Michael's had 15 men on the pitch. So it is a real shame the way this game is kind of petered out from that point of view. But yeah, it is disappointing for Crossmolina, you have to say. They've taken full advantage. How many times have we seen over the years a team with 15 men don't dominate the game for whatever reason? It's been absolutely, they have in this scenario, they've been brilliant. But I just mentioned Jordan Flynn at the start of this second half, the energy he brought to this Crossmolina team. I think everything has flowed from that, Mike. Everything, every score they've got, every turnover, absolutely everything has come from Flynn's influence around the middle of the pitch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear your selection for man of the match at the end of this game. But certainly a few Crossmolina players in contention, as Conor Loftus, one of their main men, gets on the ball again, looking to make some space for Diarmuid Fox. He did create the chance all right, but it dropped short, gathered by Stephen Daly, who will start or try to start a counter-attack once more. We're now heading towards the last 90 seconds of normal time. James Somerville to Gavin Somerville, looking up, trying to spot where David Kenyan was, but the big number 9 made his break to the edge of the D. The ball was hit in the opposite direction, and it looks like St. Michael's they've hit the wall, Column, at this stage. They have given it absolutely everything, but just had no answer, as you said, to the pace and to the power that Crossmolina brought. And in fact, they're about to bring some more pace and power, because they're taking out Aaron Coggins, who's got a magnificent reception, and they've brought in one Fergal Duffy.
Yeah, as you mentioned there, St. Michael's are done, Mike. There's no doubt about it. There's no way back into this game for them. But Aaron Coggins has gone off there. I have to give him a special mention. I thought in the first half, especially, he's probably had it easier in the second half. I thought in the first half he was absolutely brilliant for Crossmolina. Won a huge turnover for Conor Loftus' goal in the first half. Brilliant little player, was having a great battle with Gary Higgins before the sending off. Whatever happened during that sending off, we're still not 100% sure of, but it certainly has changed the game. But Aaron Coggins' performance, I think, has been absolutely brilliant.
So we're going to have at least 4 minutes of added time. By the way, in case you're wondering how the junior semi-final between Ancararua and Kilcommon is going, that Gael took the Derby. Well, the Galway champions are on their way to the Connacht Junior Club final by the sound of things. That game in the closing stages, it's Ancararua 111, Kilcommon 7 points. So double scores up at Tuam Stadium here in Castlebar. Well, it's a very similar story, but it is Crossmolina, the Mayo champions, that are on their way to victory here. They really have made the extra man count in the second half. We're into added time now at the end of this game. Crossmolina looking to gloss the final scoreline. St. Michael's looking to put a score or two on the board, because remember, they have not scored in the second half, and that will be a statistic, Colm, that will really, really hurt them, I'm sure, if they can't put it right in the next 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, no, it is. Look, whatever way this game turns out, they'll be really disappointed if you have not getting on the scoreboard. You know, Galway champions against Mayo champions, that's going to be really disappointing as Crossmolina come again.
That's Kevin Mulhern, and he did get a late hit, and I think it's going to be brought back for the free.
Yeah, it's just them runners coming from deep again, untracked. Not sure, is the ref giving it through him?
No, white ball.
White ball, yeah. I thought initially he was giving them the free in, but no, he's going to let it play on. Immaterial at this stage, Mike. The game is kind of petering out now. Kick out coming again here from St. Michael's, and again Crossmolina push right up on it like they have for the whole half. It's been interesting. David Connacht has come in, he's gone in full forward, and John Flynn has actually gone straight back full back on him.
So we're into the last 3 minutes, give or take, of this game. St. Michael's second ever time to play in the Connacht Intermediate Championship, having had a really successful run at it back in 08. Well, it's going to end here at the first hurdle. They are going to crash out of this competition. Their season will be ending shortly, but they are going back to senior championship football next year, and that in itself, Colm, deserves a lot of credit, to bounce right back up again to senior in Galway at the first attempt. It's been a really good season for Michael's, just a disappointing end.
Yeah, I always think it's a really good sign of a team if they can get relegated from a grade and go straight back up again the following year, because normally it can take a couple of years for the transition to that grade again. Intermediate level in Galway is like Mayo, very similar. It's very, very competitive. A lot of teams that can win it. So the fact that they came down, bounced straight back up again, I think for them that's a hugely successful year, and they'll be delighted with that and looking forward to being senior football in Galway next year.
Yeah, it really does speak volumes. But just one of those days, they had such a spectacularly impressive second quarter here, St. Michael's. It looked like we were in for a rip-roaring second half, but it was anything but, in truth. Crossmolina hitting those 10 unanswered points. They really did put on an exhibition of point scoring and forward play, and holding St. Michael's scoreless at the other end. I'm sure, Colm, as a four-time All-Star defender, you'd be the first to say the defence, the Crossmolina defence, deserves as much credit as the attack. It is some stat that you'd hold the opposition scoreless for, what, 35 minutes more, perhaps, at this stage?
Yeah, they're about maybe to undo that stat, but again, it's the block down. But to be honest, Mike, chance might come again. I think it's more the team defence rather than the boys at the back, to be honest, especially in this second half. It's the way they've pressed up high, they've dominated up top, they've got won the opposition kick-outs, they've really relieved the pressure on the defence as Aidan Brannigan tries to take a quick free, and it's just all gone a bit messy now, but I think it's just the defending and it's their intensity all over the pitch. I think that's what's won them in this game.
Well, they have the free, and it's Brannigan who goes for a goal. It's batted away by Conor Loftus and Packy Lenny. I think between the two of them, they got a hand or two to that blistering shot from Brannigan, who must be very frustrated, Colm, because he's such a good player. He was so good in the Galway Championship, but came off second best today against Conor Loftus.
Yeah, look, it's just beaten all over the pitch, really. But yeah, disappointing for him. But I think, look, he's limited off. Working off really limited possession, in fairness. I think he had a really good 10 or 15 minutes in maybe the middle period at the second half. He really got into the game, kicked a brilliant score in that period. But overall, he's probably been on the back foot, I would say, from Conor Loftus as the referee probably calls a halt, puts everyone out of their misery, and for the last couple of minutes. And yeah, the game is done. Really impressive for Crossmolina in that second half. Really disappointing for St. Michael's the way the game petered out, because they're a far better team than that. The lead-in for them wasn't ideal. The injuries, the week's break, all of that, and then the sending off. Really unfortunate. And from Crossmolina point of view, absolutely brilliant. Was the 10 unanswered points they got there in the second half. Absolutely brilliant from them. Brian Bince will be absolutely delighted as they head towards a kind of final.
Well, any moment now they'll be finding out, Crossmolina, that they'll play Elphin of Roscommon in the AIB Intermediate Club football final next weekend. Elphin have beaten Eastern Harps by 9 points to 7. All that remains for us to do here is for Colm Boyle to tell me his shortlist for man of the match and who he has selected. But just to recap then, it is the end of the road for St. Michael's of Galway. The Galway champions, who have been on such a great run in recent weeks, beaten here comprehensively in the end. That Gary Higgins sending off in the closing stages of the first half proved to be very, very costly indeed. They failed to score, in fact, for the entire second half, the Galway champions, and it's Crossmolina who upped the ante and moved up through the gears to hit those 10 unanswered points, 8 of them from frees, as they really did power to what in the end was a convincing win with the extra man. So Colm, who's on the shortlist for man of the match, and who did you go for?
Well, look, I think the three Coggins brothers, you have to mention them all. Aaron, absolutely brilliant. Niall Coggins got a brilliant goal in the first half. Jeremy Coggins gets 3 exceptional points in the second half. Conor Loftus, another brilliant game from him. He's had a brilliant season, 1-1 from the back, and his match up with Aidan Brannigan. But I have to go to midfield, and I have to go to Jordan Flynn, because I think right at the start of the second half, he just set the tone with the energy, with the tempo, with the intensity that he played with. He never let up right through that second half. Even when the game was done with 5 minutes to go, he was still getting in, making turnovers and tackles. I think he was the driving force, the driving nature of that Crossmolina team in the second half. And I think he's a worthy winner of the Man of the Match award.
So Jordan Flynn is Colm Boyle's selection for man of the match. My thanks to Colm for his analysis this afternoon. Thanks as well to Kieran and all the team who made the stream possible. That's it from us at Hastings Insurance McHale Park in Castlebar. It has finished in a victory for Crossmolina. They're into next weekend's Connacht final against Elphin. Final scoreline once again: Crossmolina 2-13, St Michael's 1-7.